I have the same name. I'm still chair of the Resolutions and Public Policy Committee of Women's League for Conservative Judaism. Before we start our comment Zoom, we have some housekeeping issues to go over briefly. As you saw, we are recording this Zoom. Secondly, you are muted until the question and answer session. And I want to thank some people. I want to thank Karen Belina and Sheila Kaufman, our technology people who have made this evening possible, and Julia Loeb and Rabbi Ellen, who have also made this evening possible, for all of your help and support of the Resolutions Committee. We would like to give a brief overview of the video that we're doing this evening. It is nonfiction. So tonight, as I mentioned, we're showing a 2018 video. It's called Ty's Story, Courage, College, or Bail. This powerful narrative illustrates the harms of cash bail and provides a poignant perspective on the urgent need for reform. In the story, a young woman named Ty, who lives in Oakland, California, shows you the experience that proves the two-tiered system of bail. Bail reform isn't just a civil right, it's a human right. The bottom line is this family had to pay $10,000 of bail and $8,000 of lawyers' fees, and they did not get it back. Please start the video. We can't hear it.
No sound yet.
No sound.
Situation. Yesterday, everything changed.
I was with my friend and her girlfriend.
My daughter was giving a couple of people a ride to CVS.
Because I'm the only one with the car. I really don't know her girlfriend or like that, but went to the store. I stopped in my little beauty section.
That person was still in.
So she tried to walk out. And that's when they grabbed her. So I'm screaming at them. I'm pushing the dude like, what the heck?
They were confronted by loss prevention.
I was shocked. Sharon pulled up the car. So then that's when we all just rushed in the car. Rihanna, she's behind me. I didn't know this. She pointed a BB gun to them, but I'm already driving off. So I didn't know. I never experienced nothing like that. I feel like I made a mistake by driving off. I was scared. Tried to go home, and then right when I went home, obviously they took my license plate.
The police were out. Guns drawn.
They had the gun pointed at me and everything. I was scared. One grabbed me. He was saying I was resisting, so it was like two more got me. And that's when I went to jail, and I was just shocked. I see them taking her far away. I ran on the street, and I'm like, officer, I'm looking for my daughter, Ty Sherman. He's like, oh, she's already gone. That's the day everything changed. Everything changed. It took a while to process me. It felt like 5 hours. That's when I found out my charges. Strong arm robbery. Why are they saying strong arm? Like, I was really confused. I never seen a BB gun. That's what made my case more severe than what it is. I wouldn't think she did all that. Like, I didn't think that she had a gun. I didn't think that she was gonna go in the store and do that. I didn't think that.
My daughter had $100,000 bill.
She took $38 off of the product.
Dishwashing detergent.
What made you do that? What made you want to put me in that type of situation when you already know that I don't steal?
This is the first offense for a 20-year-old young woman who had never committed a crime before. It was very confusing. I've never been in jail. My child has never done anything. That ain't who she is.
I was scared because I didn't really know what was going on. Like, I'm not a thief. She was calling me and telling me how cold she was.
And knowing that I couldn't protect her
We all thought of the Santa Claus. We all thought of worst case scenario, you die in prison. Nobody's accountable.
Young black women going to jail and not actually making it anywhere more than the holding cell. Children go to jail for nothing. They die over nothing.
And that's when to me, it got real. I was scared. I was depressed. I was sad. I was mad.
I would have sold everything in this house. I would have sold myself in order to get her out. We went straight to the bail bondsman. We figured we'll do whatever we got to do.
Your family members in jail, the bail's $100,000. So you come to us, in return, we charge 10%. We charge $10,000. That's our fee. That's how we make our living. We're providing you a service, and we want to get paid on it.
We're all hardworking, honest people, go to work every day. But $10,000 is a lot of money.
Somebody have an extra kidney. How does this work?
My daughter was in jail for 4 days because I did not have any money.
If you're locked up in a frame, fill out.
In jail, need bail? Show me. I'll set you free.
Running, ripping and running like catching Bart to San Francisco, grabbing $100 from this person, $100 from that person. I'm calling my daddy, I'm calling my mom, I'm calling my sister, trying to like rub two nickels together and try to get 25 cents. We're going to have to figure out whatever we had to do in order to get her out. I had to do everything but sell my soul and my body.
If I wasn't bailed out, I would have lost everything.
So we had to pay down payment of $2,000. So we are under this contract, 32 months for $260 a month. And if we don't do it, if you go default, then it will turn to the 100,000. So God forbid that I get sick or lose my job. You know, we've got bills that have been mounting up. Registration right now, it's like there's no way to do it. There's delinquency notices and insurance. They're too difficult right now. I have a lien on my account. We're gonna have a lot of bill collectors knocking at the door, but I'd rather that than, know my child is incarcerated.
Because you're poor, you have to actually pay what the person needs, wouldn't?
The state's money-based bail system unfairly allows the wealthy to go free while the poor and working class are forced to remain in jail.
At 11:41, Lindsay Lohan was released from our custody, and she has been bailed out.
Oh, goodbye, $250,000. Goodbye, jail. I'm out.
So yeah, it is a two-tier system. For the wealthy person, he can be bailed out right away. He has a financial wherewithal to get out. It's against the poor people. That's why they're in custody, because they don't have the money to bail out.
Just hoping that this is it. I don't know if this is gonna open up new doors or it's gonna close some doors. We got this. We don't need this.
I switched lawyers. The lawyer that they gave me wouldn't fight for me. You know, under the child. Hey, he already told me that I was gonna have jail.
I had no faith in he's gonna help me. And we'll pray and hope that, they do this, that when I come back, my water is still, and what I will be paying my water bill, I'll pay to you. So it probably won't be like that.
The worst case scenario is them telling me you have to do your time now and handcuff me and take me to jail. At that moment, I won't be able to be working with it, and everything is just like gone.
We might have done all of this, paid the $10,000 lawyer and still have to do something.
And now I'm about to have a record of a felon, and then I'm not even gonna be able to get a job. So how am I supposed to make money to pay this bill off?
There's ways that they just scratch you out of everything. Can't vote, you can't do, you know, it's like. Told my daughter, she's not even gonna be able to work at Burger King, you wanna register. That's scary to me. The fact that my child can be in a situation where she doesn't even have a future. Wasn't it Department 7? Jean was the. Seven or nine. Do you have any cash on you? Any cash?
Sorry, the film is hard to hear and we had closed captioning that didn't quite work out, so we will send you the video so you can watch the rest of it. Moving on.
Lori, maybe you can just summarize, since I'm sure everybody's anxious to know what happens in the video.
I'm happy to do so. Basically, as you know, that the young lady was her sentence, her charge was reduced to public nuisance. There was another term for it. Public.
Disturbing the peace, maybe.
That's it, disturbing the peace. And but she still didn't get back. And so basically, I mean, she only stayed in jail for 4 days, but that was bad enough. But she did not get back her $1,800 if you combine the bail part that she had to pay and the $8,000 toward the lawyer's fee. So again, a two-tiered system. But I encourage you to watch. And by the way, the only countries where money bail is legal, that would be the United States and the Philippines. Otherwise, please, again, I encourage you to watch it. I would like to now tell you a little bit about the Resolutions Committee. We have a twofold purpose: to let members express their views on public policies and social action of the day, and to show the historical record of contemporary issues that are important to Women's League members in the US, Canada, and Israel. And one caveat is that this resolution on criminal justice reform was geared and applies only to the United States. We're hoping to add an addendum for Canada and Israel in the future. For the past several decades, Women's League adopted resolutions on a wide variety of issues that impacted the world we lived in as Jews and as women. These resolutions direct the actions of Women's League and its affiliated sisterhoods and regions. Today, our criminal justice resolution addresses, the prevention or reduction of the length of pretrial detention and prison terms. It also addresses, as you've heard, fair sentencing structures, and reasonable provisions for probation and parole, and bail reform for nonviolent crimes, etc. We already told you about the addendum that we hope to add. So let's move on to the next item on our agenda. And that will be that we would like to show the steps very briefly of how to create a resolution. And Karen will show that now. Thank you, Karen. The resolution process is long, especially when COVID gets in the way. That in 2023, we did select and research and submit the topic, etc. And the Women's League Executive Committee did approve it at that time, last June. We are now in the membership review stage. we have posted this, as you know, in Women's League Week. Members have made comments, and now we have our Zoom. This is our first comment Zoom ever. And next, we will take your comments under advisement and make some changes. And if we make a lot of changes, then the executive board will review it again. And if it's just a few changes, then we will go ahead and vote. In the long run, everybody will vote. Membership has the opportunity, to vote. And then that is how you establish policy. The membership establishes the policy of Women's League. So now we will go on to introductions. I already introduced myself, but I would like the committee, each member of our resolutions committee will introduce themselves. First of all, we have two moderators. We have the chat moderator is Dana Sirkin, and she'll tell you more about that later. And the overall moderator tonight is Karen Cooker. And basically, if Karen wants to start, introduce yourself, tell us what state you're from, and tell us your position in Women's League. And then you can next committee member, or pick on or pick.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I'm Karen Cooker. I live in Pennsylvania, which is in the Mid-Atlantic region. I hold the position of Chair of World Affairs in International Women's League, and I'm on the executive committee of the Mid-Atlantic region, currently working on some fundraising. So I'll pass it to Susan.
All right, is she muted?
Yeah, I was muted. Hi, I'm Susan Winter. I live in New Jersey, which is part of the Garden State region. I'm on the resolution committee, and I'm also vice president of programming for the Garden State region.
Okay, Dana, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Dana Sirkin. I'm from currently in Portland, Oregon, in part of the North by Northwest region. And I'm a past international vice president, but currently active in my sisterhood as well as my region.
Thanks. Eileen Rothman?
Hi, my name's Eileen Rothman. I'm also in the Garden State region of Women's League. I'm a past Women's League International Vice President. And in the Garden State region, I'm on the executive committee, and I'm currently the newsletter editor.
Awesome. Okay. I'm Marlene Ostro.
Shalom. I'm Marlene Ostro, and I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm a part of the Central Great Lakes region. I am was a presidential appointee to the International Board, last administration. Currently, I'm the Women's League delegate to JCPA, which is Jewish Council for Public Affairs, to their delegate assembly. And I'm currently on the region board co-chairing Spring Conference. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Thanks. And I believe I see Marlene Oslick.
Hello, I'm from Garden State region, that's New Jersey. I'm a past chairman of the Resolutions Committee, and I'm on the Garden State Board.
Awesome. Okay, Karen, did you want to call on the non-members? I think that's all the members of the committee.
Yeah, that would be great if others want to introduce themselves. I see Sheila Kaufman, who's here.
Yeah, hi, I'm Women's League the Zoom chair. I'm from New Jersey, Garden State region. With that, I'm Spring Conference chair and been past president of my sisterhood for many years. Or I mean, I'm immediate past president, been president for the last several years.
And I see our international president, Julia, who I'm sure would like to say hello.
Hi, everyone. Glad that you're here tonight. Resolutions has always been a big part of Women's League. We've been active on the national, international stage with different social issue, political topics. I like to say we're political and nonpartisan, so we can still have a stance on different topics.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you're participating in this tonight. This is our first, we've always discussed resolutions in person at conventions. And now we've had a comment session, a comments forum through Women's League Week, and now we're opening it up on Zoom.
Thank you, Julia. Michelle Bobrow, I think you're on your iPhone. You want to say hello?
Yes, I am, and I have no idea how to use my camera. Sheila, help me. I'm also from Garden State Region, so we're incredibly New Jersey centric. I don't know what my position is now, social action or something for Garden State, but I've been involved with social action and public affairs and advocacy for many, many years. And this is one of my babies that I'm interested in. Thank you.
Thank you. And Barbara Finkel.
Yes, hi. I'm from Seaboard Region. I live in Northern Virginia. I'm on Seaboard Exec as VP for Programming and Education. I'm just curious, I don't know a lot about how resolutions the topics get selected, and so I just thought I'd come on and listen. I have no agenda.
Well, welcome, Barbara. Thank you. Marilyn Wynn. Tell us about yourself.
I'm from Seaboard Region also. I am currently the Women's League parliamentarian, and a million years or so ago, I chaired resolutions for Women's League. And then it was very exciting at conventions when women got very excited about the variety of resolutions.
Well, maybe we'll get excited again in a good way, right? Thank you. Gay Altman.
I am part of the Metro North region. I'm a past Hudson Valley branch and region president, past sisterhood president, Betora and Mount Kisco. And I'm a certified social worker.
Welcome. Thank you. Teresa Samter.
Hi, I'm the Women's League recording secretary and immediate past president of the Garden State Region. Hi, my New Jersey Garden State Region fellows, and I'm interested in wanting to learn more about resolutions.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Sandy Carlton.
Hi, I'm from Garden State Region. I'm the region secretary, and I'm a longtime presidium president and treasurer of a very small sisterhood in Northern Illinois. And I have a Hebrew classes with several of the people on the resolutions committee, and so I came to support them.
Thank you. Welcome. Sandy Goldberg.
Nancy.
Sorry, Nancy Goldberg. Pardon me, Nancy Goldberg.
Hi, I'm Nancy Goldberg. I'm Region Torah Fund Vice President, and I'm also president of my sisterhood. And I did send out the Women's League Week today to make sure they had it. And I'm always interested in resolutions. And I know a few of my members, I was hoping that they would show up, but nobody did. But I'm going to put a plug in for where I just came from. I just came from the Leadership Institute, and if you haven't gone, you really need to get there someday. It was great. Julia, thank you for everything.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you, Nancy. Jeanette Brownstein. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Okay, I got my earphones in a room that has a TV on, so give me a chance to reach over and mute it. Someone else is watching it. Give me 1 second, sorry. Okay, sorry for that. I am the current Florida region president. And I was raised with social justice in my blood. That was how our family, it was everywhere around me. And professionally, I worked, part of my career, I worked in the social justice, Jewish social justice arena. And I had great interest in the resolutions that we've put forward in the past.
Thank you. And lastly, but not least, my friend Ariana Burrows from Mid-Atlantic, our brilliant treasurer. A little bit. Unmute yourself, Ariana. You're muted.
Just attempting to be good at being treasurer. But this is my last, my 6th year of treasurer. Looking forward to doing other things for the Mid-Atlantic region. I am co-chair of CARUV, Interfaith Inclusion for Women's League International. I am attending because I think the political realm is something that has an impact on us all. And I think it's very important that Women's League take a stand on issues of significance.
Thank you, Ariana. All right. Do we want to put some questions into the chat now? Is that where we are, Lori?
Thank you. In a few minutes, thank you for asking. Right before we do that, we are going to show the resolution and I'm going to read part of it to you. So as soon as it shows up on the screen magically, because we're going to sprinkle, Sheila's going to sprinkle magic dust on it. Oh, that was fast. Okay, so we're going to go to the part that says whereas. This is our resolution. We're going to read you the part again that says whereas and the therefores. And thank you, Karen, for saving my voice for this. So these are the, this is the meat of the resolution. So whereas, is this our first whereas, Sheila? Thank you.
Yeah.
Whereas studies on bail reform have shown that financial requirements for pretrial release weigh heaviest on the poor and do not predict the likelihood of flight risk, nor serve to assure future appearance at trial. And whereas bail is a tool used for security, that a person will appear in court and not for punishment. And whereas defendants who are unable to afford to post bail are remanded to pretrial jail detention, even though they are presumed innocent until proven guilty. Excuse me, most of the bold sentences you see are new since you have seen our resolution, and they've been put in based on your comments so far. Thank you. Whereas the societal cost of housing people in pretrial detention far outweighs the risks associated with failure to appear at trial. And whereas laws with retributive and incapacitation goals do not consider the potential for less punitive and less costly interventions that might provide better long-term social outcomes, especially when considering mental health and substance abuse disorders. And whereas Women's League for Conservative Judaism honors the following Jewish values. I'm going to list them for you. 1 second. First, society must be built on fairness, justice, love, and respect for not just ourselves, but for all people. Next, approaches to justice must reflect the biblical principle that each of us emerge from a common root and a common creator. Next, when we destroy one person, we destroy an entire universe. And justice, justice you shall pursue. And finally, silence is akin to complicity. In the whereas section is next. The therefore section is next. Therefore, be it resolved that Women's League for Conservative Judaism supports the following actions. Advocate the bail policy in cases of low-level, non-violent crimes be reformed so that it is based on a defendant's ability to pay, and encourage sentencing structures that ensure that the punishment is commensurate with the seriousness of the crime, and promote the investment of interagency services in order to provide more effective interventions, and design provisions for probation and parole that are responsible and not set for failure, and support the establishment of sentencing review units to rectify sentences deemed excessive or disproportionate, and promote research to understand the relationships between policy alternatives, including rehabilitation and education services. And finally, urge agencies like police, courts, and prosecutors to be publicly transparent with their data, so people inside and outside the system can answer the question, how are we doing, with performance metrics, and work with the community to set public, data-driven goals to make the stakeholders accountable. Okay, so now we're going to go to Dana and Karen. Dana Sturkin's going to explain to you how the chat's going to work. So Dana?
Right. First of all, I don't have access to the chat, so I'd like to have that be switched from you to me so that I can take your comments, your questions, and reflect on the issues that were just shared with you.
Okay.
Just to reinforce that the bold things that you saw there that Lori just read are the new things that we added since you saw the resolution posted on Women's League Week. Any questions?
If you have a question, put it in the chat and we'll start with that. If
Can you
there
see it? Dana, excuse me. Can you see the chat now, Dana?
I still only see your name.
Okay, I'm not seeing any questions either. So you know what? If there are no questions, let me I just want to start with something if nobody minds. And as soon as there's a question, we'll be happy to take it. But that video, which as Lori said, was a little hard to hear, and it was we had some technology issues with the video, but it will be sent to you, and I urge you to look at it again. The meat of it is only about 10, 12 minutes long. But what happened in the beginning of this story was that this young woman took a car with her two friends to a store. They dispersed in the store. She was looking at some makeup or something, and one of her friends decided to shoplift. Her friend was approached by security in the store. She tried to use a taser on the security person, and obviously the police were called and so forth. This young woman got scared she wanted to be complicit in this situation, jumped in her car and took off. You have to begin with the question, did she really even commit a crime in the first place? But you are allowed to, get in your car and drive off from a store. I mean, this is allowed. So the police came to her house, they arrested her. She spent 4 days in jail. And you heard the story. Her family had to go to a bail bonds organization. They had to pay 10% of the bail, $100,000 of bail in bail was required. They had to post 10% of it. These are working class people. $10,000 is a lot of money. And then they had to pay legal fees. And she spent 4 days in jail. And now they have to continue to pay off this sum. And there was some kind of a plea bargain, and she was let off with a minor charge. But that record will also follow her. That's another issue. But we really have to begin to ask ourselves that if it was maybe one of our kids in that situation, would they have spent 4 days in jail? Would they have had to answer charges of that sort? Would there have been $100,000 in bail posted? All of that, and so there are issues here. There are issues of race. There are issues of socioeconomics, and there are issues of fairness and justice that go along with all of this. We are presumed innocent until proven guilty. Bail is not supposed to be a punishment. Bail is supposed to be security for your appearance at a hearing or trial. And that's really what the meat, I think, of this resolution is, that we should be thinking about these things and trying to understand how we can address them in our communities. Some states doing a lot better job of this than others. Some communities have done a really good job already of addressing it. Some are far behind. 50 states. It's a lot going on in this country. So one of the things we were hoping was that the individual regions and individual sisterhoods in their own communities would take a look at what's going on. And if you're doing great, that's great. And you can share those ideas with others. If you're not, maybe there's some work that needs to be done. So let's see. Dana, do you see any questions yet?
Well, the problem is that it says all the questions are going to Lori. So I can send a message to Lori, but that's the only person I can get.
So basically, I'm not getting any questions
No,
except,
the questions are only going to there are 4 people that can receive them, or 5 people, the co-host and the host. And there are no questions.
and so the only question I did get, and out in just a second, Marlene, basically, and this is important, where can you read the resolution? Well, it's on Women's League Week, and the last time it was posted that I know of was January 23rd. Julia, do you know if it was posted this time? I don't know, but last January 23rd, you can see an old copy of Women's League Week, and it is there. Anyway, Marlene Ostrow had a question.
Thank you.
Question?
Thank
Yeah,
you, Karen. I
and
didn't
then
know-
Teresa, we'll get to your question next. Yeah.
As long as we're using this real world example from the documentary, I have 2 quick questions and hoping that it's elucidating or clarifying or directing us to more other questions and comments. It seems to me that would the scenario have ensued if she had actually had the woman friend who had been shoplifting in her car? That would have made her like an accomplice or something. But the mere fact that she drove off quickly after her friend went out and was grabbed by security, that seems to me a presumption of guilt rather than a presumption of innocence. And people say, well, why would somebody leave or go away if they had, nothing to hide? So I was just wondering, since you're an attorney or anybody else on the call who's active or knowledgeable about the justice system, if in fact she was not charged as an accomplice, or was she? I was trying to figure out what was her crime.
I don't think they ever said what her crime was.
That's what I thought, but I was just wondering.
They said what it was reduced to.
Right. But the question is, if she had been, quote, like the getaway gal, and this had been premeditated and she was in on it, and the woman with the makeup and the gain and the detergent, whatever, pulled off, I'm guessing that would have been a slightly different situation. But even if it wasn't, we don't know exactly what her crime was. But for her to be held, for her to be having at gunpoint by police at home is clearly, to me, a disproportionate response to the situation. That seems like it was an escalation. So anyway, I don't want to monopolize the conversation. I just thought that I would share that with the group.
Did you have a question, Teresa?
Yeah, I asked about the document because what you read is slightly different than what is posted in the Women's League Week.
Right.
Right. So I think I might have heard something that was different. So it's hard for me to make a comment on something that I read previously, but I think you read something that alleviated maybe one of my concerns about the resolution. So, but it was in one of the therefores or something, because I think you might have addressed the comment that maybe someone had made online previously.
Do we show it again? Tell us.
Right, because my concern is about judges. We live in New Jersey, so we have bail reform here, but judges have leeway if someone keeps repeating a crime. If they don't have a high bail, but it's not like you get off if you keep making the same mistake or the same crime. So judges have leeway on how they treat defendants when they come before them again and again and again. So that my issue, maybe that might be in the resolution. So, but I can't see if it's addressed because I need to look at the resolution again.
Would you like us to?
I don't.
Dana, go ahead.
So I'm writing
Sheila,
that down.
can you post? Sheila, can you just post share the resolution again of the different clauses?
Right, because it says like it was changed in January 24th, so that might be an important thing.
Well, this we changed when we got some comments a few days ago, so we added a few things.
The only things that are changed are the things that are more bold in the therefore. So the one that says advocate that bail policy in cases of low-level non-violent crimes be reformed.
I think it's encouraged sentencing structures that ensure the punishment. It's not that makes me feel better because that is not like a one standard for everybody. You know,
Yeah.
obviously, if somebody makes a mistake the first time, obviously they shouldn't be treated as that woman did with a gun and things like that. But if somebody keeps coming before the judge should be able to have some leeway in how he wants to go forward and treat that that defendant, whether it's house detainment or something further. So that is my concern with this. Was obviously that movie was made in 2016, and a lot of things have changed in California since then. But in New Jersey, we had I think favorable outcomes with our bail reform. But I think he addressed part of it in this document, and that's my concern. And thank you.
So I think that the one that says encourage sentencing structures that ensure that the punishment is commensurate with the seriousness of the crime. If there are repeat offenders, then I think that fits in with that category where you're
right.
making
But it wasn't in
based
here,
on-
so that's why I wanted to. But thank you, God. I
So
knew
we-
I heard something, but I have to see it, so it makes me feel better about the resolution.
Thank you.
Eileen, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I have a comment. Could we add to that clause about the seriousness of the crime, about something to the effect of repeat offenders?
Yeah, I wrote that.
Because
that
a
quote.
serious of the crime, or that's the one, but if the person, if it's shoplifting and the person has been shoplifting 10 times, I mean, there should be a greater punishment than a person who maybe only done it one time. Okay. I mean, but by the way, California now does have cashless bail. So since 2016, their laws have changed. But still, and actually there's a problem in California that I think that if for shoplifting, that it's a revolving door, that there is no bail if you steal under almost $1,000. So these people are put back out on the street and they steal again. So
I think this is not intended to be a document for lawyers and judges, or even a law school document. I think what we're trying to do is encourage our members to think about what's going on in their own communities and think about the disparities that we are what we're living with are all around us, often socioeconomic, often race. People are simply in many places just treated differently than other people for reasons that shouldn't be. And I think that that is what we're hoping that we can all start thinking about with this resolution and programming about with this resolution. And the resolution could go on and on. What Eileen said was very valid, but we could come up with probably 20 more of those kinds of examples. And I don't think that that will really get to the root of it. I think what we're trying to do is encourage everybody to take a look at the world around them and think about these things. I'll give you a couple of examples. Number one, my husband's longtime partner for years did a lot of civil rights litigation. And he was asked by a judge in Philadelphia to please take a pro bono case because the judge was so upset with the overcrowding in the Philadelphia jails, pre-trial detention in the Philadelphia jails. And the judge was so upset because these prisoners were being crammed into these jails, this Philadelphia city of brotherly love, right? And they were, I mean, jails that were supposed to hold, 3 prisoners were holding like 15. And the sanitary conditions were non-existent. And these prisoners were getting all kinds of terrible diseases. And this is all pre-trial detention. The Constitution says these people are presumed innocent. So I was around in those years when he was working on those cases, and that was my first time thinking about those situations. Another situation that I know about is a young man from a very nice family of means, committed a horrendous act, and he didn't spend more than 3 hours in jail. His family of means hired top-notch lawyers. They went down, they bailed him out. He wears an ankle bracelet. He lives at home. He's allowed to leave home to go to visit with his rabbi and study Torah. The judge allows that. And he's been in that situation for months awaiting trial because he is from a family of means. So that's just my spiel here.
Karen?
I just hope everybody will think, about these things, and it will stimulate some ideas for maybe some programming and maybe some work that we need to do in our communities. Yeah.
We have two comments in the chat, and one is related to what you just said. The first one's from Ariana Burrows. A possible perspective to incorporate, just as juries are asked to consider the amount of penalty funds that a wealthy defendant can pay and be enough to change behavior, so might courts consider the amount of bail funds that an indicted person can pay to ensure appearance in court. You want to talk about that?
You know what? You read it kind of fast, and I'm not seeing it.
Okay, I'll read it slowly. Or is Ariana here?
Yeah, Ariana's here.
Where's Ariana? Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, Ariana, you want to ask the question yourself?
It's just that we know that recently juries were asked to consider a wealthy person was asked what that person's available funds were, and juries were to consider that and also think what would be enough to change behavior. Similarly, courts might consider what less funded families have and yet would ensure that the person show up in court. So on both sides to consider what the means are and yet still ensure the participation in the legal system.
Well, I think what you're talking about is an attempt at some kind of fairness. Yes.
Fairness, but showing that those questions are already in play on the other side of the funding capability, and just apply it. So it hasn't been brought to bear for the funding capabilities of persons of less means, but to ask that it's fair to ask what are the funding capability of this family to pay bail if you want to keep cash bail. I know you're considering not having it, but if you have it, it's fair to ask what is this family's capability to pay and yet ensure that the person who's being charged will show up in court, participate in the legal system. So to ask the same question they are used to asking for more wealthy participants also within the legal system, to use that same approach to look at persons with less means in the legal system.
Anybody want
I
to
think
comment on that?
one of the things we're trying to do is to word it in a way where even if somebody doesn't pay anything, they should still have an incentive to appear in court. So,
Yeah, Teresa, I think your hand was up first.
Right, I kind of agree with Ariana in that regard, but that's what a judge, when a defendant goes before a judge, I think that's, I'm trying not to get technical, but but that's why I appreciated what you included it, because a judge would take those into consideration. About ability to pay, that's what a judge is supposed to, be there for. Especially when you have bail reform, so hopefully it would reflect, he knows how much the defendant has. He has a lawyer, hopefully, that's what a judge is for. That's my comment, and I think that by having that clause helps with Ariana's point.
Eileen?
The current resolution does say, based upon the person's ability to pay, which factors that all in. You don't have to go into what the judge, and by the way, there currently is, I understand, at least in the state of New Jersey, based upon the different crimes, there is a schedule of what the bail should be. It's up to the judge, who can always change it. And,
Right.
but there is already, so this girl in this video that we showed, who was $100,000, there's three sides to every story. Someone made this video. I don't know. It just seems unrealistic that for her crime, that there was $100,000 bail that was assessed for it, which just seems a little outrageous for it. But, and also, if you have a public defender, aren't public defenders free if you're in the legal system? I mean, why is there an attorney fee if there's a...
I'll answer that. She didn't like her. She didn't think
Like her public, her PD.
Okay,
the prison says she got her own lawyer.
she's got her own lawyer. Okay.
I mean, you know that actually an only small percentage of defendants actually get the public defender. The public defender's office is a very fine group of trial lawyers, but they're overwhelmed. So there are lawyers that take court appointments for very little money, and sometimes they're not very good lawyers. So sometimes you're not getting a public defender, you're getting a court-appointed lawyer. Now, I don't know if that's exactly what happened here, but it could have. And
Something doesn't sound kosher about that case.
she
I don't know.
might have
something is
decided
wrong.
that she didn't want the court-appointed lawyer because her lawyer was sleeping next to her in court, and she decided she wanted her own lawyer, and it cost a lot.
Excuse me, sorry. We have one more comment, but also Marlene Ostro had a comment.
I'm sorry, this is not exactly on point, but I can't remember when I first moved to Cincinnati, and I don't know, I was talking to somebody about parking tickets and speeding tickets, and somebody reminded me that the justice system is probably, particularly in the instances of parking and speeding tickets, it's highly regressive. They have a schedule with a preordained dollar amount for what the crime is based on how many miles per hour or based on what the parking situation was. And if you don't pay it in full in 7 days, I believe, I don't know if it's 21, you either have the option of going to court in 3 days and then incurring court fees, or then the fines double after the 7th or 8th day, or at least that's the case in Hamilton County. So I'm just using that as an example of how regressive, at least in my neck of the woods, the judicial system can be. To think about that this young woman, for whatever she did or didn't do, to be chased by several armed police people in her home, and somebody set that bail at $100,000. The bail bondsman's 10% is a business. It's built into the industry or whatever. It's the best standard practice, whatever it is. But somebody decided that she could be a flight risk. The 16-year-old female first offender who may or may not have even committed the crime. So you can just see, and you just don't know if just law enforcement in certain places under certain circumstances, let's say people of color, people of poverty, or whoever it was, they're heavy-handed with the law. So I think these are all a bunch of variables that come into play that you can really see after you watch the documentary and you start thinking about this. She wasn't a repeat offender. She wasn't a violent offender. And she didn't have she didn't have intent to commit a crime and to be an accomplice. So there's a lot of things that make me question the legal system in Alameda or California, how they handle this. And I just want you all to be thinking about this, and possibly to think also, since Karen planted the seed, I grew up in New Jersey, but I'm in Ohio. who are the players? And those of you that do or don't live in New Jersey, do you even know who the players are in bail reform or criminal justice reform outside our own synagogues and sisterhoods in our communities who are taking action? In my community, it's just for example, it's the NAACP and the ACLU, but I'd be interested in hearing from all of you as to, are you even aware of who in your communities this is a priority issue for? Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments?
We do have another comment, excuse me, before you.
Oh, Marilyn. Okay, Marilyn.
Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to respond and say in the community that I live in, that the Jewish Community Council is very active in this area and works with the police and works with local local government to try to deal with issues like this.
Well, I think that's what this resolution is hoping that we will all start thinking about and investigating and researching and programming, bring in local organizations and people that are working on this issue and talk about it locally or regionally. Because as we said in the beginning, not every state is in the same place on this. Not every
Perfect.
community.
No, finish your sentence.
No, I want to point out one other thing though. I want to point out that I've been sitting here and listening. Every single person who mentioned the word judge said the judge, he. Women's organization, bad. You got to
This
stop
is
that.
true.
How about they, them?
He or she,
I'll stick with the she.
Very
There are
true.
female judges out there, good ones, and jerks and everything else.
Right, Eileen?
Yes, I'm related to one of them. Let me just interject one thing. We have another comment and we have a perfect segue from what you said. Jeanette Brownstein wanted to know, can you speak about the Women's League? What do we do with the resolution since we are apolitical? So basically what Karen just said, we are going to have an education Zoom or two. We're thinking about having two, we're not sure, but we're definitely going to have one that gives sisterhoods ideas of social action projects they can based on this resolution, but we're also thinking of an education Zoom that's pure education, for instance, with a rabbi doing an introduction and then talking about what we talked about tonight, but expounding upon it with more details of some of the legal issues. It's very difficult because just talking about bail reform, each state has their own laws for bail reform, et cetera. They're all working on in different, and there was a map of the United States that was in the video that showed, at least from 2018, the crime was 2016, supposed crime, and then 2018 was the video was created. But there was a map from, I guess, 2018 showing what was going on within different states. I know the Deep South had a lot of reform evidently, and then New Jersey and California. I don't think my state of Texas has had reforms actually, but anyway, every state's on a different plane for that. But so we are planning to do some action and give you ideas. Otherwise, the resolutions do reside as a historical marker of what we believe on the Women's League website. But we are trying to, this education Zooms, that's a new thing. We did one last year and we're trying to do more. So anyway, I'll hand this back to you, Karen.
Oh, me. Oh, okay. Okay.
Jeanette has her hand up.
To the end. We
Jeanette
are
has her hand up.
while being nonpartisan. That was Michelle's comment.
Jeanette's hand is up and she
I'm
made
sorry, Jeanette.
I threw that request in because in a past session on resolutions, it got a little heated in regard to what we are or are not allowed to do. But our region took it to heart. And as other states do, but you can imagine in Florida, we have we're trying to get on the ballot for the fall an amendment regarding women's right to choose. And we took the position that we just anybody can vote however they want. We just want to get it on the ballot. And we ran a session talking about all of the reproductive rights resolutions from Women's League, and then having an educational session about how to get the forms out for people to sign, with the approach that, you know, it's just to get it on the ballot. It's not to tell you how to vote. So we kind of got around some things that way, and it was approved by Women's League to do that.
And every community is different. And that's why it's important to do these education programs on what your community could have a different take on this resolution than my community. And it's very specific, but it's to provide ideas for how to present this information at the local sisterhood affiliate level. And for this is as the point of view of Women's League at the international level.
I think Barbara Finkel has her hand raised.
Yeah, and forgive me if this was already discussed, but I didn't hear it. So what I'm trying to understand is where are the resolutions presented? Or are they presented outside of Women's League? Like who knows? How would one know that Women's League put this resolution out? Am I stating that in a way you understand?
Laura, you want to take that one?
So that was in my concluding remarks, but basically if you go to it's within Women's League or anyone else who wants to look, if you go to the Women's League website and you click on the main menu at the top, and it's one of the items options is about, and you click on about and scroll down to about the 6th item, number 6, it says resolutions. And when you click on that, you'll get an alphabetized list of resolutions, bearing in mind that sometimes the old titles don't really tell you exactly what's in them, but we've tried, and for what, 30 years or whatever, there've been resolutions on there. So, or
more than 30 years.
Yeah, longer than 30.
Yeah, going
Anyway.
back to the 50s. Yeah.
It's 1960.
So basically, that's how you access them.
No, I knew that, but I'm in Women's League. What I'm trying to understand is, but I mean, that requires, I forget there's terms for push pull and pull, I don't know what the words are, but do we actively, do you know what I mean? Like, do we send this out to, I don't know where.
Can I try to tackle that? And Julia, you're a president, and I haven't been involved in the PR process, but for example, there was a flurry of Jewish organizations that had positions on issues that we were invited to sign off on community. I don't know if they were position papers, or if they were their resolutions, or if they were
letters, and
they were statements on issues.
Statements
as
on
opposed
issues.
to a resolution on a policy more often.
We've been invited to join with other like-minded Jewish and or female Jewish organizations to share where Women's League stands on these issues when things come up, so that we're part of the greater Jewish community, sharing our stance and our values and our positions with the greater world, because this is picked up by media, correct, Julia?
It does, yes.
Okay, so that I don't know if that helps to answer your question.
But again, it's less formal than a resolution, than these kind of resolutions.
It's an indication of our values and our history, and that we're part of the greater Jewish community when we're standing up against, for or against immigration situations, or we're part of the Jewish network on criminal justice reform, for example. So I hope that answers your question. Without saying, go to our website and see what we stand on paper, we're taking action as situations arrive, and we're asked to share our voice.
There's two more comments. Go ahead, Karen, you can see the
I'm sorry, before we take these comments real fast, in the last administration, when Debbie Goldich or Rabbi Willens Fields was from time to time asked to sign off on a letter or some statement by other organizations wanting us to join in and add our voice. Sometimes they would actually say, do we have a resolution? Are we covered on this one? Is there a statement on our of our policy on this position? Sometimes they would say that. Sometimes they didn't have to say that because they would naturally sign off on things that came down from other organizations within the conservative movement and so forth and so on. But once in a while, they'd say, you know, this is interesting. Have we had a policy statement on this over the years? Let's look back and let's see if we're covered when we sign this. But, you know, I do want to emphasize that the resolutions are really fascinating. If you like history and have an interest at all in where we've been and the things that were compelling for us in times past, I remember sitting on an airplane once on the ground waiting to take off for a long time and reading all the resolutions. And but it was absolutely fascinating. So I'd encourage you to do the same. But anyway, Dana, you have your hand up, and then Michelle.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge Barbara's comment, and I don't know that many of our resolutions have been shared outside of Women's League, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're trying to promote social action among our members so that the resolution becomes acted upon in the community as well.
And I think, Michelle, you have a comment? Michelle?
Yes, unmute, Michelle.
No.
Should Sheila go before Michelle comes back on?
How about Sheila? Sheila, you had a comment?
Well, yeah, I just, my one tidbit, it's not so much a comment, but all those resolutions that you just saw, I think I did about 75% of them, converted them from hard copy to digital back like 15, 20 years ago.
So you read them?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Aren't they interesting? They're really
very, very interesting.
Yeah. Michelle, are you back? Are you unmuted?
Excuse me, I'm having such a difficult time using my phone. But yes, I can speak now. Whoops.
Hear you.
Yes, I can speak now. I just want to say that what these resolutions do is enable not only the national leadership, but also the individual sisterhoods to be able to speak for or against any specific item. It gives us presence, and we can add our voice. It's a blueprint for what we can and cannot do, and what the grassroots organization has approved of. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well said, Michelle.
Thank you.
Anybody else? It's getting past 9. What do you think?
Okay, well, let's do our closing comments. Thank y'all so much for your comments. It's been very helpful to us, and hopefully you've enjoyed it tonight. And thank you for attending our Resolutions Committee comment Zoom. If your chat question was not addressed, I think we did address them. We would have emailed you an answer, but basically we did address them. We hope you will attend our upcoming education Zoom on this topic, and the date will be announced via Women's League Week. Resolutions are now, we've talked about the website, and on behalf of the Resolutions and Public Policy Committee, thank you very much.
And I will just add that the next step will be the committee will go back, incorporate these comments, and then we will come out with a vote in Women's League Week. So make sure you watch for that so you can vote. Our membership approves the resolutions.
Absolutely.
So thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work on the resolution.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.